It is impossible to stop me, as long as my heart is beating.
From Recorded Future News, I'm Dina Temple-Raston, and this is Click Here's Mic Drop. Every week when the Click Here team is putting together a new story about the people making and breaking our digital world, there's a lot of great material that doesn't make it into the episode. So we created Mic Drop. And today, we have an exclusive interview with LockBit Sup, the leader of the LockBit ransomware gang. And he's been in the news lately because on February 19th,
international law enforcement agencies, including here in this country, have cracked a case involving one of the world's most prolific digital gangs.
A law enforcement dragnet seized the LockBit platform, a bunch of its tools, its crypto accounts, and even its source code. We think this is his very first media interview since all that happened. The conversation was via encrypted app. We tried to get him on tape, and he said no, for pretty obvious reasons. So these are his answers, but not his voice. And he talks about how he's trying to rebuild the platform, his plans for the future, and why he's confident LockBit isn't done yet.
Now I want to create even more noise.
We'll be right back. I'm Dina Temple-Raston, and this is Click Here's Mic Drop.
This business works and will always work.
The business works and will always work. That's what LockBit Sup, the leader of LockBit, told us when we asked if the seizure of his platform by authorities somehow meant the beginning of the end for ransomware.
The takedown isn't an indication of a systematic problem with ransomware. It won't have that kind of effect.
And while he's pretty open when he's talking about business, the only thing he won't talk about is himself.
I can't tell you that, because it would help the FBI find me.
So we'll fill you in on what we do know. LockBit Sup is short for LockBit Support. He was one of the administrators for the ransomware group and also its leader. According to law enforcement officials, since LockBit came on the scene in 2019, it's been linked to some 2,000 ransomware attacks, and it's raked in some $120 million in ransomware payments by essentially doing three things over and over again. They crack into networks, encrypt and steal their data, and then demand a ransom to give it back. Researchers who follow LockBit Sup say he's a white male from Russia and likely in his 40s. He's brazen and bigoted, and now he's a guy with a $15 million bounty on his head. And while the February takedown has rocked the ransomware community, LockBit Sup's role in that community was already tense, even months before the takedown happened. In January, LockBit Sup was given one of the worst nicknames you can get in the hacking underworld.
The Ripper!
Ripper. Thank you, Judas Priest. The Ripper's status tells other hackers you can't be trusted. It's a kind of scarlet letter in the cybercriminal underworld because the dark web runs, ironically enough, on trust and relationships. The only way it can work is if someone does a job and knows they'll get paid. So when LockBit Sup got into a kerfuffle with an access broker who accused him of breaking an agreement they'd made, it was a bad look.
I got blocked by another forum that is friendlier toward the access broker.
The two oldest and most prominent Russian-language dark web hacking forums are called XSS and Exploit. And LockBit Sup was banned from them. And this isn't just a members vote you out of the club sort of thing. There is quite an arbitration process in these forums. And LockBit tried to use that process to regain his good name, or whatever it is you have in a criminal forum.
I filed an appeal and I won it. The administrator decided that without an actual agreement that both sides have signed onto, it is impossible to accuse someone of fraud and that block them.
But it ended up being a kind of split decision. He won in one forum, only to be blocked by others. So, in at least two forums, he remained the Ripper. Just weeks after that setback, LockBit Sup had another. Global law enforcement launched Operation Kronos, and some say that 1-2 punch may end up turning his name to mud.
Some partners got scared. Probably those. My opponents are trying to take advantage of the situation, but they will not succeed. In the short term, our profits will probably decrease.
Now, LockBit Sup has not one, but 2 crisis situations to manage. And he's decided to respond, maybe not surprisingly, with bravado.
The FBI can't stop me. As I see it, the more I stand on my feet, the more our affiliates will trust me. No one ever stood on their feet and really came back after an FBI attack. I will.
LockBit Sup is taking this personally. It's not just the LockBit gang's name that's at stake, it's his too. So he's determined to appear unbowed. To send a kind of, "don't worry, I'm still here" message. When we asked if he needed to regain the trust of people who might have been caught up in the takedown, LockBit Sup said, "Don't be silly."
I don't need to restore their trust, because there is no reason not to trust me.
He insists that most of his partners have continued to work with him, and that they have nothing to fear from law enforcement.
These people do not leave any personal information on my websites. The generated nicknames are of no value to law enforcement agencies.
Nothing has changed, he seems to be saying. Just watch me.
If the FBI can't scare me, my partners will respect me. Have you ever seen an affiliate program continue to work after the FBI hacked it?
Well, LockBit Sup is determined to be the first. He said, watch this space. He's working on a new platform with all kinds of bells and whistles, including more security. And LockBit, he says, will be back. From Recorded Future News, this has been Mic Drop. It was produced by Sean Powers and Kat Schuknecht. I'm Dina Temple-Raston. We'll be back on Tuesday with an entire Click Here episode on the LockBit takedown, as told from LockBit Sup's perspective. And we talked to some researchers who say he's going to have a lot more trouble than he thinks staging a comeback. Have a great weekend.